It's been over 4 months since the drivers of the Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires capped off the 2021 racing season at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course last October. We'll be kicking off the new year virtually here on iRacing. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 2022 TireRack.com Road to Indy eSeries presented by Cooper Tires and the iconic Virginia International Raceway. My name is Rob Howden, the voice of the Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires, and I'll be joined in the broadcast booth for all 5 races of this year's eSeries by Joshua Lee. And Joshua, it's a pleasure to get a chance to work with you this year.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure to get to work with you, Rob, as well, and to see these prospects and all these drivers go racing for all of these rounds. We're going to see so many different real-life racers take their hand into the virtual world and try and capture that checkered flag. I'm excited, especially we're getting started at such a tough course at Virginia.
Yeah, take a look at this racetrack, 3.24 miles in distance. It's a long one and it's a tough one, very technical racetrack. About 67 degrees here trackside, partly cloudy, could play a bit of a role in it today. We're running the full course on the racetrack here today. And one of the interesting things about maybe the evolution of the Road to Indy eSeries this year, this particular race will be for Road to Indy prospects. These are drivers who are not quite yet into the Road to Indy, maybe running in our new USF Juniors program this year. So potentially drivers coming out of F1600, other F4 programs, and the Lucas Oil School of Racing as well. A fantastic group of drivers, and we look forward to getting things underway here. And again, as we said, a double header here for this particular weekend. Qualifying underway right now for the drivers. We'll see how the grid lines up for race number 1. For race 2, we'll invert the top 10. That'll make things a bit interesting, and a little more on the line for the drivers as well. At the top 10 in points overall from the double headers tonight, we'll get a chance to race against the Road to Indy Pro drivers next week at Indianapolis Raceway Park. So Joshua, a lot on the line for these young drivers who are trying to impress the Road to Indy team owners.
They're going to do it in the virtual space. The racing might be real, but the cars are virtual, so they can take a little bit more risk. They don't have to worry about paying the bill when they wreck their race car tonight.
Yeah, that's exactly it. But again, a good opportunity to run together with the Road to Indy crew. We, of course, have our Road to Indy race directors here as well. Johnny Unser will be in the booth watching these drivers. And let's bring in a guy right now, because a guy I want to talk to might give us some keys to the race. Greg DeGeorgis will be joining us from Symmetric Driver Performance Lab. Greg, what do you think we should be watching for here tonight?
Yeah, thanks for introducing me, Rob. First and foremost, as drivers are actually driving through right now, qualifying is absolutely king, as you just outlined. They each have 2 20-minute races, and that doesn't leave a lot of time to make your way through the field, so that the higher up they qualify, the less passes they have to make in the race to get to the podium. Next up, drivers really need to not get too gritty with the curves here. I did a lot of driving this week to get ready and prepare for everything. There's a lot of curves you can take, but there's just as many you really can't take and get too aggressive with. So the drivers who thoroughly practice really know exactly which one they can hit and how much of them they can actually use. One of the corners that I actually really love here in the iRacing world is the Oak Tree corner. That's because we actually get to see the Oak Tree, which unfortunately about 9 years ago was struck by lightning. It doesn't exist anymore, but it exists here in iRacing. The reason I bring it up, though, is that that corner leads directly onto the long back straightaway, which is the lowest risk passing zone. So anyone looking to make a pass will have to maximize their exit out of that corner. And anyone who's looking to defend also needs to maximize and try to hold off anyone from behind.
Yeah, Greg, fantastic insight. That's exactly it. I'm sure the 3 of us are going to be talking about much of this throughout today's doubleheader VIR. And as Greg was wrapping up his keys to the race, the qualifying shootout actually finishing up. Top 6 drivers from the initial qualifying run getting to go back out onto the racetrack to see if they could improve on their time, so that's a possibility. But now that they're finishing that up, let's get things started with this year's Road to Indy iRacing eSeries. Let's now head to IndyCar Ministries' Chuck Lesick with the Invocation, followed by the National Anthem.
Let's pray. Lord God, we just thank you for the opportunity to kick off the 2022 season here online with some virtual racing. We look forward tonight to this race at VIR, and we welcome all the new people to the Road to Indy tonight. We've got some young upcoming talent here, and we just ask you to be with them as they get acclimated to our family, and ask that we be welcoming to them and just show them all the support that they deserve. Lord, we just thank you for the opportunity to get together, blow off some steam tonight around this virtual race, have some fun, hone our skills. We just ask your presence as we enjoy this night. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
So, we buy shoes online, and socks, and shoe socks, and baby food, dog food, parrot food, gardening tools, art supplies, college classes, scarf, the scarf tube, sleeping bag suit? Yeah. So why not buy tires online? TireRack.com is North America's largest online retailer of tires. Find, buy, then have them shipped to one of our trusted independent installers for safe, easy installation. TireRack.com, the way tire buying should be. Online, with all that other stuff.
Welcome back to live coverage of the 2022 Road to Indy eSeries, brought to you by TireRack.com and Cooper Tires. Great to have Tire Rack back on board with us once again. Looking to get some tires, go to TireRack.com. Big supporters and partners with our primary partner, Cooper Tires, as well. Joshua Lee, let's bring you back in. This is going to be an interesting run. This racetrack, it's not one of those tighter racetracks, right? Bull ring kind of track. One of the longer tracks that will run throughout the year. In fact, the Road to Indy's actually never run at VIR, but it will this year with the new USF Juniors program, which is a development series that goes into USF 2000. 17 different corners around this racetrack, and it's a lot of long straightaways as well. Should be some interesting drafting from these drivers.
Yeah, that slipstream is going to really come into play. We've seen it a lot with these cars, how slipstreams on these long straightaways can lead to great passing opportunities, most notably down into the horseshoe of turn number 1 off the front straightaway. How about going into turn 11 and into turn number 12, the Oak Tree corner? A lot of long straightaways, like you mentioned there, Rob, and like what Greg mentioned with the curbs. You got to be careful. These cars do not react well to curbing, especially the high concrete curbs that VIR has around the track.
Yeah, and the race car that we're using for this year's eSeries, the same that one we used last year, the Indy Pro 2000 Tatis PM18 car that came along with the USF 2000 car a couple of years ago here on the iRacing platform. The middle level of the Road to Indy, of course, USF 2000, those drivers coming out of there, graduating with the champion, getting the scholarship to move to Indy Pro 2000. A lot of car for the young drivers here that'll be in something with a lot less horsepower when they go racing this year. We also have a couple of great young kart racers who have won some big races recently joining us as well. We'll talk more about them throughout the event here and throughout the evening. Qualifying wrapping up, and we'll get the grid for you when we possibly can here. Drivers getting ready to dial things in. We'll find out who is going to be the quickest driver, who will start on the pole position. I believe it may be the number 13 of Titus Sherlock. But again, qualifying key here. Only 3 laps really, Joshua, because the track is so long. You're not going to get those, 5, 6, 7, 8 laps. You got to get it done early. And if you make a mistake somewhere, man, you could find yourself deeper in the field for the first race.
About a minute 40 we're looking at, and it's about an average lap time. So yeah, with a 20-minute opening race, you're not going to have a huge opportunity to really make anything happen. We saw qualifying could have went a couple different ways. We saw a lot of fast drivers in practice, most notably the driver I'm looking at, Alessandro Di Tullio. He has run F3 cars on the iRacing service in the past, most notably over this last year, and is very, very quick when it comes to open wheel racing on the iRacing service. I'm looking at Alessandro Di Tullio in the 20 to really make headway in this opening race and get a good start to the season. That top 10 invert, Rob, going to make things very, very interesting when we go into race number 2. Will some drivers try and finish closer to the edge of the top 10 rather than up front to get a good finish for race number 2?
Yeah, I think you're right. Again, top 10 invert. So if you finish 10th in race number 1, you'll start on pole for race number 2. Alessandro Di Tullio, as you talked about, winning a race this past weekend, a SuperKarts USA Winter Series race down in Florida, in Homestead, Miami, for Parallel USA. So I believe we're getting things dialed in here right now to go racing. And again, Di Tullio, one of our karters that's come in to run with us as well. Frankie Mossman actually running here as well. We hope to see Frankie on the Road to Indy this year as well. And Dean Dibdahl joining us once again. Dean was one of the drivers in a program that we did and will do further this year with the World Karting Association, where the winners of their online e-series will get an opportunity to run with us here in the Prospect Series. Dean did such a great job last year representing the World Karting Association that we went ahead and invited him back here for the opener. He was very impressive. A driver you see running some sprint races, but for the most part, he actually runs road racing courses in the WK National Road Racing Series. So again, great to have him with us as well. And and Joshua just getting ready to dial things in. I think all total 18 or 19 drivers on the grid here today.
Very, very good field size for race number 1. And we mentioned that invert. This is going to make it ever more interesting because the edge of the top 10 really is not at the front of the field here. It is in the midfield. So we're going to see a midfield driver finish in P10 and get rocketed up to the top of the leaderboard when we go racing in race number 2. Will they be able to hold on? How is the slipstream going to affect all of this? Will we see some drivers maybe try and finish closer towards the midfield so they can get that pole position when it comes to race number 2? A lot of questions that are going to be answered here in this first race, Rob. 20 minutes on the clock, and they're all following that Chevrolet Corvette pace car as they follow along in the Virginia International Raceway. This is going to be an exciting opening round of the season. A lot of unknowns going into this 4th season of the campaign.
Formation lap underway, and let's give props to our Symmetric Pole Award winner. That is Titus Sherlock in the number 13 fastest driver. You see that black and yellow machine. He'll start on the pole position alongside the Canadian Mackenzie Clark. Matt Clark on the outside of row 1. Row 2, the driver that Joshua talked about, Alessandro Di Tullio, coming off that win at the Superkarts USA Winter Series program down in Homestead. A big karting win in the X30 senior category. And out of Canada on the outside of row number 2 will be Lucas Mann in the number 74.
Connor Gutting is going to start to the inside of the 3rd row. Jason Pribble will start to the outside in P6. Chase Gardner and Noah Ping, a pair of Americans in the 33 and 55, are going to share that 4th row.
Cap off the top 10, Threya Ramanan coming out of the Pacific Northwest, out of the state of Washington. He'll start in the 9th spot. Elliot Cox will be alongside, driver out of Indianapolis, Indiana. Dean Dibdahl, who I talked about, will be on the inside of row number 6 alongside the number 17 of Tyke Durst.
Sam Corey is going to start to the inside of the next row, row number 7. Yero Lee, the only South Korean in the field, will be starting to the outside of that 7th row on the grid. Ayrton Hauk and Jake Bonilla are going to share that 8th row on the grid.
Final grid is at 18 drivers in total. Frankie Mossman and Chris Parrish at the tail of the field. 18 drivers set to go, and they'll work their way up the long back straightaway on the formation lap. You know, I know you've announced a lot of races, Joshua. I'm sure you've probably been behind the wheel for a bunch as well. This is one of those times that the drivers start to form up a little bit, start getting a bit antsy, you bounce around in the seat a bit, right? You just want to go green, and this is one of those long run downs into a right-hand turn 1. Let's hope that these drivers take care of each other as they work their way through the roller coaster right now and get ready to come around to see a green flag.
The nerves are at their highest, and they're thinking about what's going to happen when they go down into turn number 1. 2 by 2 behind the pace car, getting ready for that green flag. All bets are off when they get into turn number 1. It's the first race of the season.
Titus Sherlock, top driver in the Lucas Oil School of Racing Formula Car Series last year, expecting him to move to the USF Juniors program in 2022. Matt Clark was the winner last year in F4 competition. A noted karter coming out of Canada, out of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. He's expected to go as well. Drivers coming out and getting ready to dial things up. Already kind of lining things, and I don't know that we went green or not there, Joshua.
We are under green flag conditions, and they race down into turn number 1. Take a look at Alessandro Di Tullio already mixing it up in that 3rd line. He tries to go to the outside of Matt Clark. Can he get the spot done? He gets a little bit loose on that outside line. Smoke in the back as they all race through turn 3.
Yeah, one driver further back having trouble losing the rear end of the car, trying to come through that opening corner, but indeed Titus Sherlock is slotted into the lead. 2nd spot, Matt Clark, and as you said, a good start for Alessandro Di Tullio as well. Lucas Mann that 74 into 2nd, and Connor Gutting gets a pretty good start. He moves his way up into the 5th position underway, and as they work their way now through the snake area down that long back straightaway here at VIR, the 2022 TireRock.com Road to Indy eSeries is underway.
You can see already starting to spread out up at the front. Top 3 are pulling away. That's Sherlock, Clark, and Di Tullio. Mann and Gutting round out the top 5. You can see that pair of blue Indy Pro 2000s just at the tail end of this top 5. A lot of switching up in the back, because I believe we might have just had an incident with Dean Dibdahl involved in the back. He has fallen way down the order, and Dibdahl is going to fall all the way to P17. It looks like an issue for Christopher Parrish as well. He'll fall to P15, as at the front, everything looks to be calm except for the battle for the lead. Here comes Matt Clark to try and take it away, and he's going to do just that as they race down into the corner.
Yeah, into the roller coaster. Matt Clark to the inside, book it. He is through to take the lead. Titus Sherlock doing a great job, though. Trying to hold him back a little bit. There's a couple more drivers further back going off the racetrack into that particular area as well. I think the driver that spun in the opening lap is Yeru Lee, the black car in turn number 1 that went around. We're going to come around here to get this lap in the books here now as Matt Clark, your leader. Good start here for Titus Sherlock. Sherlock's going to try to go back to the lead to the inside of turn 1. I like this mono-a-mono battle early, a little push to the corner, and it's an over-under. DeTulio's going to take advantage of it as well. Alessandro DeTulio take advantage of a little overcook into the braking zone in turn 1 for Titus Sherlock. He was thinking about the lead, Joshua, but fell back a little bit and goes to P3.
He wanted that lead back. You can see the aggression from Titus Sherlock. It was just too much. The brakes could not handle it. He's going to fall now one more position back. The American of Alessandro DeTulio going to move up into second. Now, what can DeTulio do against Matt Clark, who sits at the front of the field? How big is this slipstream going to be? We saw that last move for the race lead be made down the back straightaway. Will the same thing happen as they head into the Oak Tree turn of turns 11 and 12? Here they come into that hard braking zone. Will any pass for the lead be made on this long back straightaway?
Greg DeGeorges, let's bring you back in here. I know, Greg, you do a lot of work trackside with Symmetric Driver Performance Labs, the actual sim that we have trackside for a lot of drivers to work on. What do you think about Tyler Sherlock there? He lost the lead to Mac Clark going into the end of the back straightaway into the roller coaster, right? And he just wanted that lead back. He overcooked that thing a little bit into turn 1.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of trading back and forth between the front straightaway and the back straightaway. I think it's about really going to be timing the pass so that you're the one who takes the checkered flag at the end of the race.
That really is what you see a lot here at VIR. A lot of drivers will try to get in that lead group, try to pull away. The draft obviously playing a big role here with such long straightaways. So you can see already we have essentially a 3-driver, almost a 4-driver breakaway. Lucas Mann having a good run here, running in second. Here comes DeTulio. He'll try this to the inside of Clark this time. The car to the bottom of the racetrack and look at the inside as well. Titus Sherlock trying to hold it. Clark will run the outside. This is what I like to see. I think, no contact there between Sherlock and Clark.
And Matt Clark gets turned.
Back into the rear, into the gearbox, Joshua, of Clark, and Clark went around.
Doesn't look like any damage to that number 26, but he's going to lose a ton of time, maybe falling outside of the top 10 now. Disaster striking for the Canadian at the front of the field. And take a look at this. Titus Sherlock into second. Look who's catching up. It's the other Canadian in the field. Lucas Mann is now in the run for the lead.
Yeah, Luke Mann closing back up, and that contact obviously taking Clark out of the race, or at least out of the position, out of the race. He was able to come back in 11th, so Clark will put his head down and keep working his way forward. This has given Alessandro DeTulio the lead, but again, Sherlock back up on it, coming out of Oak Tree, and gets a pretty good run onto the back straightaway. Same goes for Luke Mann. Connor Gutting now up in a second. How about Noah Ping at the number 55? Here's the driver off. That's the number 14 going around. Sam Corey had a little bit of trouble there, but able to get back out onto the racetrack. This facility, this track itself, incredibly challenging because you're trying to carry so much speed into a lot of the corners. Watching another battle here between, that's the 55 of Ping and the number 10 as well of Connor Gutting. So move Noah Ping up to 4th spot, Joshua. Ping will start making some moves forward.
Great move for the 55. You mentioned making moves forward up 4 spots from where that 55 originally began this race in P8. But Gutting's not done. You can see that 10 machine trying to utilize the slipstream down the front straightaway as Alessandro DeTulio sets a brand new fastest lap of the race. Here comes the 10 of Gutting trying to take a look to the outside. A little bit of a door slam there from Noah Ping. Still had a lot of room to work with. Ping moves to the outside just a hair, overcooking it into turn number 1. He's able to keep that spot alive though. P4 for the 55, back to P5 for the 10. Here's another heads-up battle between Corey and Durst. They almost make contact as the 14 of Sam Curry trying to rebound off of an off-track just 1 lap ago. He is running well in P number 8. He's also up 5 spots from where he originally started the day in P13.
Yeah, tremendous run for Sam Corey, young driver who'll be running with Velocity Racing Development this year in the USF Juniors program. Here's DeTulio back to the lead again. Alessandro DeTulio for Parolin USA and won that big karting event at the SuperKarts USA Winter Series this past weekend, looking for a championship there in the Headline X30 Senior class. But Titus Sherlock, who again was a top runner in the Lucas Oil School of Racing Formula Car Series this past year, he'll likely go to USF Juniors again this year as well. These guys are putting on a good show up front. And remember, with the contact between Sherlock and Clark that looped him around, here goes Sherlock looking to the inside, coming through the back straight there into the roller coaster. He'll take the spot away, book it. To the inside goes Titus Sherlock back to P1. Good battle up front here between Sherlock and DeTulio, Joshua, and giving each other lots of room there coming through the roller coaster.
And Rob, you mentioned that DeTulio, as we take a look at another moment between Corey and Durst, almost making contact again. They'll stay side by side as they race through the corner, but getting very loose was the 17 of Tyke Durst, and he's going to fall back into P9. Able to hold that spot is Sam Corey in P number 8. But I was mentioning how Alessandro DeTulio, you were talking about him in a real-life kart race this past weekend in Miami. I'm used to seeing Alessandro DeTulio in the virtual world in the official iRacing F3 series. He is so bad fast in that, had a streak of, I believe, 4 wins in a row at one point in the past iRacing season. He is bad fast when it comes to the sim. And with the win in the karting in real life this past week, he's bad fast in real life too. So you see one driver off track, that's Ayrton Hauk in the 82.
Yeah, Hauk having some trouble. Hauk actually just winning the Lucas Oil School of Racing karting scholarship. Will run the entire Formula Car series next year. See, having a little bit of trouble with that car. A little mid-corner snap oversteer on the number 82 Caddis PM18 for Hauk. He's got to settle himself in here right now. Up front, though, the lead, Sherlock, as we said, DeTulio running a strong second spot here. Have a look again here. I think we're going to replay of Ayrton Hauk in that number 82 as he'll work his way through the opening couple corners of this racetrack. You can see the car starting to get a little bit loose on him coming through there, trying to carry a little more speed and around it went Joshua. It really doesn't take that much to get that to happen if you have a car that's a little bit loose coming through that corner.
Yeah, very easy, especially through some of these slower speed corners or faster speed corners even, just to whip that car around. Slower speed if you don't have a lot of grip, and faster corners if you don't have a lot of grip either, but you're just taking it in a little bit too fast. And you can see Titus Sherlock going into the pit lane. Race director announced just a couple of moments ago the 13 with a penalty on the racetrack. This is disaster for Sherlock, a huge gift for Alessandro DeTulio. He's going to extend his lead now by about 2 seconds over Lucas Mann behind.
I think one of the key points, Joshua, for this Road to Indy eSeries is that we treat it just like one of our official series. Our race director who works with the Indy Pro 2000 category, Johnny Unser, is in the booth watching. I sat in on the drivers' meeting just to listen to what they were talking about, and they said straight up, if you do something like this, contact on this racetrack like we would see, you're going to get the same penalty that you would get, and that would be a drive-through penalty. So the contact for Titus Sherlock when he got to the back of Matt Clark there, coming out of the opening set of corners, I believe heading over to turn number 3 and sent him around, that's a drive-through penalty. And Titus Sherlock just serving that, falling down to, I believe, about 6th position. Here's the number 74 of Lucas Mann. He'll inherit 2nd, but it's a pretty big gap now for Alessandro DeTulio out front as we're closing in on the halfway point of this 20-minute race, almost to the 10-minute mark. Here's the 55 of Noah Ping. He's up onto the provisional podium right now. Noah Ping, another driver who has confirmed that he's going to be running with Velocity Racing Development this year in the USF Juniors category. So we got a Carter leading the way right now. I know Lucas Mann has not signed yet for his 2022 season, but he did get a chance to test the exclusive Autosport at the Chris Griffiths Memorial Test at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in October. Here's Noah Ping, as I said, in that number 55. Noah with a lot of experience in the Radical Cup program. Looking forward to him running in USF Juniors this year and really showing well here, running P3 in the opening round of our eSeries. DeTulio leading the way. Lucas Mann runs in 2nd. 3rd is Connor Gutting. Here is Elliot Cox. He'll be with Sarah Fisher Hartman Racing Development this year. And trouble for Cox coming out, and he spins around. Joshua, around from P5 for Elliot Cox.
You can see the onboard trying to get that car repositioned back on the racetrack. He only loses 2 spots now. Had 1 spot lost to Titus Sherlock. Now going to lose another one to Tyke Durst as Elliot Cox is going to have to move down into P7. So unfortunate. A great run for that 67 so far tonight. As it looks like another driver getting involved into a bit of an incident ahead. I believe that was one of the lapped down machines that we have on the racetrack, not racing on the lead lap. So Cox is unfortunately not going to get the gift of an extra spot. He'll stay P7 on the board, but needs to be careful now. Those tires are going to be a little bit hotter, and they're also going to be dirty from that touch into the grass. Needs to take a lap or 2 to make sure those tires are clean and back in working order.
So Elliot Cox now trying to chase down Tyke Durst. Right behind him is Ramanan, followed by Ayrton Hauk and Chase Gardner. Now capping off the top 10, keeping an eye on Matt Clark, turning good lap times down to a 143.18 as he's trying to fight his way back into the top 10. Remember, Matt Clark getting looped around by Titus Sherlock. That brought the ire of the race director and a drive-through for Titus Sherlock. You know, we talked about it at the start, Joshua. Obviously, for Matt Clark, I got to get back to the top 10. Even 10th puts him on pole for race number 2, so you know that Matt Clark will have his head down right now.
And Chase Gardner currently has that spot. We just saw a mistake going through turn 12 from Tyke Durst. We're seeing a lot of mistakes from these drivers. Could be a lack of experience in this car, could be a lack of experience in the sim, could be a lack of experience with this track, but what it really is for a lot of these drivers is just the challenges of not just this car. This car is very challenging. One of the most challenging, slower speed open wheel cars that iRacing has on its service, and this track is so challenging. Each corner is going to require being focused and making sure that car is under you and you're not getting spun around through each of these corners. Time also running out. We have about 7.5 minutes left. Take a look at the slipstream from Chase Gardner. Does he want to get out of the top 10? Yes, he does. He's going to take a look to the inside. Not going to be enough. And take a look at Ayrton Oak getting involved. And here comes Tyke Durst way off the racetrack now. He's going to fall down the order into P12. Way off track goes to 17.
Yeah, that was tough there for Tyke Durst. They were closing up on Ayrton Hauk, who runs in the 8th position. Durst was 9th, and Chase Gardner here in the 33 was running in 10th spot. He was going to the inside, and it looks to me like Tyke maybe just got caught off a bit. He didn't want to let Gardner get by the inside of turn 1, immediately dove the car into the apex, and just probably had to release the brake enough that he wasn't able to get the car turned to load up enough into the corner. That set him straight off the racetrack. So Ayrton Hauk, who again has just won the Lucas Oil School of Racing a karting shootout program to win a full season in the Lucas Oil program. That program offering up $75,000 scholarship to move into USF Juniors in 2023. He currently runs still in that 8th spot. Chase Gardner's moved up into 9th, and Sam Corey rounding out the top 10. Who's knocking on the door? How about Mackenzie Clark? Matt Clark in the 26th, currently 11th. He'll try to chase these guys down to see if he can't get himself into the top 10. But again, as you said, time kind of winding down. Very close to 6 minutes remaining. There's Atreya Ramanan. We're riding on board with him right now, the driver out of Sammamish, Washington. Ran last year in the West Coast F4 program. He's been doing some outdoor karting as well. This is a young driver from the West Coast. We wanted to get him as part of this RTI prospect. Look at him pounding the curb coming through this particular part of the racetrack. Love the onboard right now. Ramanan trying to get a big run on the front straightaway, see if he can't get by Elliott Cox.
You can see him chasing that number 67 in front of him. Is he going to take a look to the inside? Look at the defense from Cox, trying to force Ramanan along the outside line and getting loose now. And the contact made with the 67. More contact being made by Atreya Ramanan. But Elliott Cox is going to get turned and off and into the grass for the 67. Give 8th place over to Ramanan, and Rob, it looks to me there like the 67 just got too loose coming through the corner. Nothing the 024 could have done to avoid that contact.
Yeah, very similar, right? Took a lot more shallow run into the corner trying to defend on Ramanan. Once he got in there, he loaded up a little bit. Ramanan carried so much speed into the corner that he made contact with the gearbox of Elliott Cox. Cox going around and falling back to 11th position. We do have a potentially have a replay of the incident that happened there in turn number 1. There's Ramanan in number 024. Let's have a look at this again. This is the replay of what we talked. We'll do it from the blimp. Coming in there. Ramanan moving to the outside. Cox trying to get in, a little shallow entry, and maybe a potential over-under. Looks like Cox loaded up a little bit. Then Cox actually came back, or rather Ramanan came back to try to avoid the spinning Cox and made contact with Chase Gardner. Luckily for Gardner, able to continue. He currently runs in 7th. There's Ramanan right now there in the 8th spot. Ayrton Hauk, he's making a move right now as well. He's in a battle here right now with Chase Gardner. Gardner on the inside. He's going to be up and over the curbing. That's coming through the roller coaster part of this racetrack. Look at these guys side by side here right now. Great racing. And again, Gardner trying to get the job done. Hauk's going to try to push too hard. He goes off a little bit. Ayrton Hauk overcooks it. He's going to find himself losing spots. So a guy like Mackenzie Clark finds himself back up to, I believe, 7th now. There's a number of drivers here on the opening round of the eSeries, Joshua, just getting a little over-aggressive. You know, in that particular situation, I think you give it up. You know, he's on the inside. Gardner's got the spot. Give it up and tuck back in behind. Ayrton just pushed so hard to try to hold on to the spot. And while they came along the front straightaway as well, Ramanan, I believe, into pit lane. He's serving a drive-through penalty for that contact with Elliott Cox.
That's going to put Ramanan down and into P13, but here is your current reverse grid pole sitter in Ayrton Hauk. He's got Tyke Durst in the 17 behind, but you can just see how many mistakes these drivers are making. We still have one more race left tonight. We'll see if these mistakes stick around into that second race, or a lot of these drivers are going to take the lessons they are learning here and take them into that second race. It is better, Rob, to get these mistakes out of the way in the virtual world for all of these Road to Indy prospects. Better to have it off track in the sim than to have it off track in the real world, especially in the Road to Indy program.
Yeah, and I'd really like to see these drivers make that transition, make those changes from what you saw, in this last race. Hey, you know what? I might have overcooked it a couple times. I probably shouldn't have forced the issue. I would have came up with a better result. You're no doubt about it. Let's get those mistakes done here in the virtual world in the iRacing eSeries. So when they go USF Juniors racing here in 2022, we want to make sure that we get lots of green flag laps. Let's come back on board with Alessandro Di Tullio here watching him. And again, this is a young kart racing driver with a lot of experience on the iRacing network as well. You mentioned him running in the F3 program, the official F3 series. Really talented young driver in the kart as well. And having announced that race down in Homestead, watching what he was able to do, actually won both races, but a slight issue in tech. Race number 1 didn't get to keep that victory in the opening round of that doubleheader in Florida. But he will be battling for the Supercards USA Winter Series Championship as he works his way through the S's 7, 8, 9, over down to Oak Tree in a couple of corners. Alessandro Di Tullio out front. Just a couple more minutes remaining here. Joshua Di Tullio probably going to get maybe 2 more laps.
And we'll see if he's able to hold on, minimize those mistakes. It has been a borderline perfect race so far for the 20 of Alessandro Di Tullio. He sits with a very, very comfortable lead. When he took that lead, or when the driver behind him had that drive-through penalty that they had to serve, being Titus Sherlock from second place, that gap was about 2 seconds. It is now about 7 seconds on the racetrack. Lucas Mann sits in second, the 74. Not going to have anything for the 20 here, but what's interesting, Rob, we mentioned it, that reverse grid. We're going to reverse the top 10 for race number 2. That's going to put Alessandro Di Tullio down and into the mid-pack at the edge of the top 10. What is that going to do for race number 2? Right now, Ayrton Hoke's going to be starting on the pole, but will Alessandro Di Tullio be able to use those 20 minutes and get himself up to the front? The closest driver that has gained as many spots tonight looks to be Noah Ping, up 5 spots. So is Sam Corey and Ayrton Houck as well.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Interesting kind of a play here for Di Tullio. He'll have to take his time working his way forward. Again, remember, top 10 in the points for this combined day. Get a chance to run next week against the Road to Indy drivers at the Indianapolis Raceway Park, the newly renamed, back to the old name, IRP, where we hold the Carbonite Classic and the Freedom 75 and Freedom 90. Should be a great oval race there. But we're capping things up here with Di Tullio. Here's a good battle here. Titus Sherlock fighting his way back, trying to get back on the podium. Remember, Sherlock had that drive-through for the contact between he and Matt Clark. He's putting the pressure on Noah Ping on what could very much be the last lap. Okay, we'll see white flag, I'm told, next time by. Not sure if this is white flag right now, or we'll see the white flag next time by. This time, we'll see the white. So, good battle here right now for third spot, Joshua. It's Sherlock trying to find a way by.
Take a look at Titus Sherlock on the defense. Noah Ping, on the defense. Titus Sherlock on the offense as Alessandro Di Tullio leads the way, trying to put a bookend to the first race of the season. What a start this is looking to be, Rob, for Alessandro Di Tullio as he brings it across. This was the white flag this time. We'll be taking the checker this time by. What a fantastic race for the 20. This is a sign of what's coming for the remainder of the season. These drivers better watch out.
Yeah, I guarantee there'll be some Road to Indy team owners watching this right now, seeing who this young kid is. Alessandro Di Tullio is going to win the first round of the TireRack.com Road to Indy eSeries. He is victorious here in the RTI Prospects race number 1. What a good run for Lucas Mann as well, representing Canada. The young drivers, I said before, tested for exclusive Autosport, hoping to see him in the Road to Indy this year. Good run for Lucas Mann coming home in that third position. Solid run for Lucas. Connor Gutting rounding out the top 3. I'll tell you, folks, fantastic way to get things underway. Di Tullio, Mann, and Gutting, the top 3. We're going to go to a quick break. When we get back, we'll try to interview our winner, Alessandro Di Tullio.
An important decision is afoot. This man is about to buy tires on TireRack.com. Tire Rack is the leading online retailer of tires in North America and a repository of advice and expert reviews. And it's done! All that's left is to arrange for safe, easy installation at one of our independent recommended installers. Well, I guess he did that too. TireRack.com, the way tire buying should be.
As your uncle, I want you to know that on the road to life, there will be rough spots, and they will chew up your tires. I recently took a road trip to Greensville to attend a chili cook-off. Rough roads all the way down. I drove there on these Cooper Discoverer and Duramax tires. You know, they're made with the durability of off-road tires, but for on-road driving. Without them, we might never know the winning bean-to-meat ratio of a good chili. And those are the things in life, my friend, worth driving towards. So go with the Coopers. Cooper! I'm hungry now.
Wow, we were treated to a fantastic event to start off this year's TireRack.com Road to Indy eSeries. Again, my name's Rob Howden, joined in the booth by Joshua Lee and Greg DeGeorgis. Some pretty good racing there all along. We're going to try to see if we can't get a chance to talk to Alessandro DiTullio. But Greg DeGeorgis, let's come to you while we wait to get him into the broadcast center here. Pretty solid race and what we kind of expected of the Prospects event. Couple mistakes being made here and there by some of the younger drivers. That'll be something they can work on going into race number 2.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of it is a nerves as well for a lot of these kids. I know a lot of them have done a lot of real racing in real life, and that's why they're here right now, but they're racing in front of the Road to Indy audience and team owners, and that can be a lot of pressure, especially next week when the top 5 actually make it into a Road to Indy or the E-Series races with the other actual Road to Indy E-Series drivers.
Yeah, again, the pressure there, right? I could feel it myself at the start of the race. They're all trying to dive in there. They're all trying to get the best opportunities they can possibly get. But Alessandro DiTullio, the one driver that was able to stay out of trouble. Joshua, what's your takeaway from the initial race there with DiTullio getting that win over Lucas Mann and Connor Gutting?
I think not only are we seeing a lot of the names that we thought would be up front, really racing up front, but I think we're also seeing a lot of the drivers who we thought were going to be up front making those very, very simple mistakes and falling down the order. This second race is going to be a rebound for a lot of the drivers. Talking about Matt Clark, talking about Titus Sherlock, Athreya Ramanan. They have another opportunity here to make something happen in race number 2. Race 1 is only going to dictate what happens in race number 2. We could see a lot of great racing coming up in the last half of the night.
Yeah, I know we have Alessandro DiTullio standing by. Let's see if we can't bring him up into the studio and get a chance to talk with the winner from race number 1. Obviously a tremendous run for Alessandro. As soon as I see him jumping up into the studio here, we'll grab him and have a quick chat. But otherwise, just a tremendous race all along. And you know what? Good for Matt Clark, able to get himself back up, I believe, into the top 10 as well. It'll be a solid position for him to be able to work forward from where he will start. He won't be in the back of the top 10, that's for sure. He was able to, I believe, get up to, I think, 6th or 7th. So very likely going to be a row 3 or row 4 start for Matt Clark trying to work his way back forward. Again, I see DiTullio in the staging room, but we haven't brought him up yet into the broadcast center. Hopefully we can do that before we have to cut to another quick commercial before we go racing. But again, welcome, folks, to this new season, our 4th season of the Road to Indy eSeries. And again, great to be working with the good folks from Extreme as well as Apex Racing. Going to be going back at it again for another 20-minute race to see how things dial in. Top 10 drivers of the overall points on the day. I do get an opportunity to run next week, as Greg kind of mentioned there, with our drivers in the Road to Indy program. All the pro drivers already signed up for USF 2000, Indy Pro, and Indy Lights. We have a number of drivers from each one of the categories. Joshua, that should be a pretty solid battle when we see these young kids going up against really the established stars of the Road to Indy.
And I think that right there is where we're going to see a lot of the future of Road to Indy come out. When you can think of on the NASCAR side, when the NASCAR Xfinity Series drivers are up against drivers from the NASCAR Cup Series, you know, they're fighting drivers that they want to race against in the future. That's going to be the same thing when both of these different types, the prospects and the drivers nowadays, go head-to-head in the virtual space. That is going to be some exciting racing.
Yeah, no, and the great thing is, in looking at the drivers that we have a really good cross-section of the drivers. We have a number of guys coming in from the Indy Lights program. Matthew Bradman was very quick today. That Indy Lights driver is actually testing down in Sebring today. He's going to be in it. Benjamin Peterson, one of the drivers that has signed on to come and run. Antonio Saravalli's planning on racing as well. Jacob Abel. We got a bunch of drivers as well from the Indy Pro 2000 category coming in. It's going to be a fantastic lineup of drivers when we go racing on the oval, the 5/8 mile banked oval at Indianapolis Raceway Park. Should be a really good fight. Probably looking at around, I would think, probably 25 to 30 cars on a very tight oval. Could be exciting. Stay with us, folks. We'll go racing when we get back after this break.
An important decision is afoot. This man is about to buy tires on TireRack.com. Tire Rack is the leading online retailer of tires in North America and a repository of advice and expert reviews. And it's done! All that's left is to arrange for safe, easy installation at one of our independent recommended installers. Well, I guess he did that too. TireRack.com, the way tire buying should be.
Rickmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Rickmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name-brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, rickmotech.com.
Welcome back to the virtual Virginia International Raceway, VIR, 3.22 miles in length, 17 very challenging corners in this particular racetrack. Our first one in the books, and kudos to Alessandro DiTullio. We weren't able to get him in the booth, but if all goes well, we may be able to get him in the post-race show. Those of you tuning in to Rev TV up in Canada, we welcome you to the broadcast on another season of eSeries competition. Big shout out, of course, to TireRack.com for being our presenting sponsor once again. And again, those who are at the end of the day today on Rev TV, if you do want to follow the rest of our show, we'll have a wrap-up show afterwards. Head to the Road to Indy TV YouTube channel. You'll be able to get the rest of that show. Joshua, we're going to do this thing all over again. And again, such a different deal. Obviously, qualifying set the grid for race number 1. We invert the top 10, so that's going to put a couple of different drivers up front. Ayrton Hauk, we believe, will be on the pole position. DiTullio, though, the guy that just put on an absolute show, is going to be back in 10th. Maybe even more fun watching him potentially come from 10th than what he did coming from road number 2.
This is going to be very interesting to see how DiTullio is going to work his way up through the field, because we saw in that first race, a lot of the drivers from the midfield just had drivers who made mistakes in front of him that kind of gave them easy work up and into the front of the field. We didn't really see a lot of passes made in side-by-side. We saw a lot of side-by-side racing, but it was mainly in groups of 2. Alessandro DiTullio is going to need more than that in these 20 minutes if he wants to walk away with the sweep of the night.
That's it, just a 20-minute race. And again, we did have a bit of carnage. Hopefully the drivers took a deep breath, got a chance to settle down a bit, maybe a quick talk with Johnny Unser, our race director, or their coaches, whatever it may be. Drivers do have spotters on board as well. Getting things underway, and it looks like I think it's going to be the 67 of Elliott Cox for Sarah Fisher Hartman Motorsports, starting on the pole position in the number 67, the Indiana resident, starting on pole alongside Ayrton Hauk, another driver out of Indiana, so an all-Indiana front row. Sam Corey and Matt Clark will be on row number 2, Chase Gardner and Titus Sherlock on row 3, Connor Gutting alongside Lucas Mann on row 4, and Alessandro DiTullio and Frankie Mossman going to be on row number 5. Mossman, I believe, moving up there. Not sure why he would be 10th. We have driver advisor up top. Always interesting to look at live timing. But again, this is going to be a good one. Elliott Cox and Ayrton Hauk on the front row. Different mindsets of drivers, Joshua, who maybe had a little bit of trouble. Both Cox and Hauk were in the grass at one point in race number 2. Hopefully they'll be able to center themselves and will be clean going through turn number 1.
And we'll see if those drivers are going to take what they've learned. Are they going to be a little bit more conservative going into turn number 1? Are they going to be maybe a little bit off of the curbs? They're not going to use those curbs as much as they did in race number 1. How are they going to take those lessons they learned from race number 1 and apply them to race number 2? And I think what everybody's wondering is, can Elliott Cox stay at the front, and can Ayrton Hauk have a run at this race win? Or is it going to be Alessandro DiTullio running his way from 10th up to 1st to walk away with the clean sweep?
Again, this is our first race of the 2022 eSeries program here on the Road to Indy. Big thank you to TireRack.com. We say hello to all those of you who are tuned into all the different platforms. We know a number of people watching on the Cooper Tire Facebook page, on Road to Indy.tv, and Road to Indy's TV's YouTube channel, the Apex Racing channel as well. Lots of great places to follow the live coverage of the entire program throughout the 2022 eSeries campaign. And again, having these RTI prospects, these young drivers who are looking forward to potentially getting into USF 2000, and following the footsteps of drivers like Kyle Kirkwood, who went all the way through, won scholarship all the way up through the ranks, and was able to now get into the IndyCar Series with AJ Foyt. We're getting ready to fire things up and go racing, folks, and we're underway. Green, 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 and it's a good start for Elliott Cox. Also a pretty good start from the outside there for Matt Clark, but we're going to go 3 wide coming in. Clark's going to go way around the outside. Ayrton Hauk, got to watch yourself coming through the opening corners. Give yourself lots of room. looking good so far here through turn number 1 and 2. Back over to turn 3, too wide, a little further back. There's that number 10 of Connor Gutting trying to work his way forward. One driver shooting off the racetrack further back. Top 10 looks pretty good. We have a little more contact further back. Otherwise, Joshua, pretty solid coming through. The driver getting looped around further back. It might have been Lucas Mann.
You can see Elliot Cox just on the top of your screen there for a moment, holds the lead. Titus Sherlock sits in P5 at the moment. You can see how close they're running with the slipstream down the half straightaway. They'll go through the final couple of corners and into Oak Tree. Turns 11 and 12. Is anybody going to have anything for Cox yet? Ayrton Howe going to have a send to the inside. That's Matt Clark going to go for it by inches. He's going to be able to hold on to that second spot. What a move for the Canadian in second.
Yeah, a couple of good passes there. I want to say that Titus Sherlock slipping by Sam Corey before they got into the corner of Oak Tree, and then a big move down to the apex for Matt Clark as he takes over that spot. Clark, impressive here today, coming back after that spin to work his way up into the top 10. He now runs second. He's going to look to the inside here, thinking about, oh, there's contact there. That was a deep move, and that's definitely not going to work. That was Lucas Mann. And I want to say that was Tutulio, I think, that tried to make a move. Tutulio off the racetrack. And indeed, Joshua, with Tutulio trying to make a move to the apex to clip in front of Lucas Mann. Probably should have waited a little bit. Tutulio falling all the way back to 13th.
One slight touch of contact, especially in these cars, gonna send you right on around as we have a battle for the race lead. Mackenzie Clark trying to take it away from Elliot Cox, and you can see a little bit of smoke, maybe a little bit of contact up here in the front of the field. But taking the lead goes Mac Clark. We saw the speed he had in race number 1, Rob, and he's showing it again in race 2. Big question is, can he hold on? Overcooking it into the corner, that's Titus Sherlock, or excuse me, that's Ayrton Houck who's gonna go off track.
Yeah, indeed, Ayrton Houck was a little quick coming through that corner and went off the racetrack. I believe that might have been coming back through turn number 4 and 5. But I'll tell you, pretty good run for Matt Clark. We'll talk more about that. Here's the Matt Clark pass all the way around the outside. You can see Elliot Clark defending on the inside. He's got to roll it up a lot more in the corner. He'll make it. You can see the Clark running the outside of the rim, able to keep back on the throttle. Gets on the throttle earlier as well through turn number 2. Holds it, and of course has that advantageous inside line going into turn number 3. A textbook outside pass at VIR for Matt Clark. And he's already stretched out a bit of an advantage here over that battle for second, Elliot Cox. Back here with the fight again, that's the number 17 going at it. That's further down in the field. That's Tyke Durst and Jason Tribble. There goes Tribble in the number 59. He'll try to make a move to the inside. That's going to be for the 12th position as they go side by side up the back straightaway into the roller coaster. Good racing all around. Look at this side by side. Durst on the outside, Tribble to the inside. Driver we've seen in the SCCA running the Formula Enterprises program. Hopefully to see him in USF Juniors this year. And Pribble making a really nice pass up the back straightaway. And Joshua, look at the driver off through the grass. That was Connor Gutting, I believe, off track. And indeed, he's fallen down to 15th.
Unfortunate night for Connor Gutting. Unfortunate for Tutulio. Jake Bonilla getting a black flag for causing an incident. Same thing with the 23 of Frank Mossman. So we see a little bit of contact almost between these drivers up at the front. Ayrton Houck in the 82 trying to hold off Sam Corey's charge behind. Looks like Dibdall and Parrish might have gotten involved in an incident. Looks like Lucas Mann might be in that one as well. We'll stay on this battle for P4 right now. Let's take a look at the 82 now pulling away from Sam Corey in the 14. Exactly what Ayrton Houck wanted. We saw the mistake from him earlier on, just a couple of laps ago. And now Titus Sherlock gonna try and make a move on your pole sitter, Elliot Cox, and there's the contact, and getting sent off the racetrack goes Titus Sherlock, and a hard hit into the guardrail. Huge damage for the 13.
Yeah, tough one there for Titus Sherlock, Joshua. He made the pass and had it done, just came across the bow a little bit too early, and it was the left front to right rear contact. He needed to give himself a little bit more room coming through that corner, and he had not yet cleared Elliot Cox. And that's what the contact came from. He needed to give himself a little bit more room. Ayrton Houck, though, there's no saying that Ayrton Houck has not been tossing that car around like crazy. He's done the best he can. Sam Corey now having a look down the back straightaway. This will be the battle for P3. Sam Corey on the inside. The driver will see for VRD this year. Contact! And Houck goes off. Nothing he could do there. Sam Corey to the inside there, coming into 14. And contact with the barrier, with the curbing rather, shot him to the right side of the racetrack. Contact ensued. Houck went off, and there's, with nowhere to go, Sherlock into the back of Houck. Man, we've had some drivers having some issues here. Both those drivers trying to get going again. Looks like the number 10 of Gutting involved as well. Wow, just a lot of chaos here in race number 2.
A lot of mistakes being made on the racetrack, but the race director is handing out those black flags, so it is not going unnoticed by the race directors. And something, Rob, we touched on, that they are racing with real Road to Indy race director in the booth watching this race and handing out these penalties. So everything does not go unnoticed, and they're dealing with the same repercussions that they're going to deal with in the real world in terms of penalties that normally they don't get in the iRacing service.
Yeah, following along right now, the number 21 of Dean Dibdahl representing the World Karting Association. We put together a program with the World Karting Association again for the next race here of our RTI prospects. They'll have their 3 races done of the WKA eSeries in the books. All 3 of their winners are going to get a chance to come and run in the RTI prospect race. Dean Dibdahl, again, one of the drivers who was so impressive last year when he came up and ran with us in last year's eSeries. We invited him back again, a very personable young man, a heck of a driver. And he's not had the best of days here. Currently running in the 8th spot, though, trying to keep that car clean. Currently P8 trying to reel in Tyke Durst. Right behind him, Ayrton Houck and Connor Gutting. And there you essentially, you see right there, essentially 5th on back to 10th. Here's Gutting in the number 10 driver again, out of Indianapolis, Indiana, actually from Noblesville, Indiana, same hometown as Connor Daly. He'll make a move down to the inside now. Houck, this is that run down that back straightaway into 14 and into the roller coaster. Pretty good run there for Gutting. He's able to get by Houck, move him now up into P9.
Great rebound getting started for Connor Gutting as he tries to march his way back into the top 10. Mackenzie Clark setting another fastest lap of the race. And a great run that is working for them as well. Sam Corey in the 14 gonna have to serve a drive-through penalty. He's into the pit lane. So this top 10 is going to continue to change hands, and right now, battle for the lead pretty much non-existent as that interval is roughly about 7 seconds at the front of the field, but these drivers still have a long way to go. 10 minutes might not seem like a lot, but more like 12 minutes, excuse me. Doesn't seem like a lot, but especially when these lap times are a minute 40, they gonna seem like a marathon to the end of this race.
Putting our spotlight now on this advance forward for Connor Gutting. We know he was able to get by Ayrton Houck. Now he's reeled in Dean Dibdahl. This is where you want to see a driver to show a bit of patience. Let's see if he's got to move to the inside. Pretty solid pass there. You don't want to overcook it. Just clears him enough to get across there. Pretty solid run right now there for Connor Gutting as he's able to get by Dean Dibdahl. Will come now down here into the Oak Tree corner, and he's going to try to see if he can't reel now in Tyke Durst. Good run for Connor Gutting here as well in that number 10 machine. Dibdahl staying right with him, of course. On the back straightaway, you get that draft. But it's been some pretty good cornering, and I like the exit speed we've seen here out of Connor Gutting. He's really rolling the center of that corner, rolling off the brakes enough to get a good run. And in fact, he's already side by side with Tyke Durst. Move him up another spot. Connor Gutting, the man on the move right now. He goes from 8th to 6th in 1 lap. Nice job here for Gutting, currently up into 6th. Yeru Lee will be the next on the target, but he's quite a ways up the road.
A great run forming for Yeru Lee, who currently sits in P5 on the racetrack, up 13 spots from starting at the tail end of the field. And I believe they're going to have to serve another drive-through penalty as well, as here they come into the pit lane. There goes the man Houck and DiTullio battle right on by. Is man going to have a threat from Houck behind? Take a look at the dive for Alessandro DiTullio. What a move into turn number 1, and it is going to go the way of the 20 machine right past Houck. He goes. The race 1 winner is looking at another top 10 finish. Can he make it all the way to the top 5 as we go halfway done?
Remember, it was DiTullio and Lucas Mann, the 2 drivers that got together in the corner there a number of laps ago. They're falling down to the tail of the field. DiTullio now working his way back up. Both he and Luke Mann moving himself up to the 8th and 9th right now, trying to get a big run down the straightaway there. I can tell you, it's been good for DiTullio. We know he fell all the way back to 15th position. He's got to be smart here with a good move to the inside there to get that pass done on Ayrton Houck. So you got to know Luke Mann a bit quicker. He was on the podium in race number 1. He's got the pace. DeTulio needs to know that to work with them because they're working together now. Next up the road, you can see 3 drivers up there waiting. Dean Dibdahl, Tyke Durst, and Connor Gutting all out in front of both Mann and DeTulio. We may see both of those drivers try to work their way into the top 5. Right on board with DeTulio right now, the Parallel USA karting star coming off that big win at Supercars USA Winter Series. He's thinking about the inside. Will he take it? Going down to the bottom. Good car control, good car placement. Trying the over-under here on Luke Mann. But Mann doing a good job as well, placing the car nicely to work their way to the final couple of corners here. Both these drivers unbelievably quick. Joshua, you'd hope that they don't make any contact, because, you know, both of these drivers can eventually, I believe, get into the top 10 with just 9 minutes remaining.
And you can see Lucas Mann trying the defense, but it's so hard to defend against Alessandro DeTulio. An aggressive move again to the outside line. It's not going to be the dive to the inside, but here comes the crossover. Is he going to have room? No, he won't. Lucas Mann is doing a fantastic job at holding on to this 8th spot. He opens the door a little bit to the inside. DeTulio on the curb, going to get loose to the inside line, but he's able to hold on to the car. Does not cause an incident, but he's going to stay in P9. He's got the battle going in front of him. It's a heads-up battle, but who is going to be able to prevail into the 8th position? I'll tell you what, Rob, if Alessandro DeTulio has pace to run in the top 5, he's being held up by this 74 on the racetrack, but Lucas Mann does not have to give way at all. They're both racing for position. Here comes another move to the inside on DeTulio. Maybe a touch of contact to the wheels, but he's able to hold on to the car. Lucas Mann takes a short trip through the grass.
Yeah, I don't think there was any contact there at all. I think DeTulio just surprised Mann a little bit. You can see him throw the car to the inside, and Mann, you can see the car kind of jerk like he didn't realize he was going to be there and just went off the racetrack. But kudos to Luke Mann for bringing himself right back on track. Only lost that 1 position. He still runs 9th. DeTulio had to get 5. Here's the fight now between Tyke Durst and Dean Dibdahl. Dibdahl to the inside of the back straightaway. DeTulio ready to capitalize as well. Dibdahl running the outside line. Durst on the inside. DeTulio coming right up there side by side. Stay up there. No. Durst not giving him much room on the inside. Light contact there. He'll fall back a couple of spots. Move Durst likely back into the 10th or 11th position. DeTulio now on Dibdahl. He'll move to the inside, coming onto the front straightaway. And indeed, Dean Dibdahl will move down into the 7th spot. Still a strong run for Dean, but DeTulio now into the 6th spot. Fast lap there for DeTulio as he continues to push hard. Finally up into the 6th position for the winner of race number 1. He wants to make sure he gets to race next week against the Road to Indy drivers at IRP, Joshua. No doubt about it. DeTulio, very impressive. It was funny. It was Gustavo Yakiman, who's the series manager of the USF Juniors program, saw how well DeTulio did at the Cruiser race and said, hey, we should invite this driver to come and run in the Road to Indy Prospects race. And I was on board 100%. Like, yeah, it's definitely a shot. Let's do it. Here comes our leader, Matt Clark, again. Matt Clark, we hope to see this year in the USF Junior Series. One of the proteges of James Hinchcliffe, of course, the noted Canadian racer, multi-time IndyCar race winner, Indy 500 pole sitter, will be part of the NBC Sports broadcast for the IndyCar program this year. Matt Clark kind of under his tutelage, and this is a great young Canadian driver, folks. If you're watching on Rev TV and you want to get behind a racer, this is one of the ones to do it right now. Matt Clark, he's got his eyes set on the NTT IndyCar Series, and he could get the job done. Very strong here right now. Looking at about 6 minutes to go, Joshua and Clark out to a really solid advantage right now.
Yeah, a very strong performance coming out from Mac Clark, and we saw him have speed through practice, through qualifying, went into race number 1, just made a few mistakes and ended up towards the back of the pack. He started in P4 off of a 6th place finish in race number 1, or a 7th place finish, excuse me, in race number 1. Now running at the front after gaining 3 spots from where he started. An absolutely fantastic run for the Canadian. If this is a sign for the future, Rob, in both his real-life racing and in the virtual world for the Road to Indy eSeries, I'm excited to see what Matt Clark can do for the rest of the season.
Yeah, Matt's one of these young drivers who understands the total package of what you have to be to be a race car driver. It's not just what you do behind the wheel. It's what you do when you're dealing with partners, with sponsors. You know, I've known Matt for many, many years, and one of the things he told me was he's going to do something in motorsports. If he doesn't get a chance to be a racer, he wants to be an engineer on a timing stand in IndyCar or Formula One. So this is guy, he has that mindset, that racer's mindset. He wants to know everything about the race car. He wants to know the engineering side of it, but he also revels in what you do outside the car with sponsorships and marketing and building those partnerships. And that's really what you want to teach any young driver. For Clark to already have that, I think is so key. And again, he's one of the future stars of Canadian motorsports for sure, and really just putting a show on now. We know that he was in that battle early and would have been fighting for the podium, if not the race win in the opening round, had it not been for the contact from behind for Titus Sherlock. Fought his way back to where he needed to be, 7th, to be able to start P4. So where he is now with this potential race win coming in about 4.5 minutes, we'll see. Just looking at that contact we saw there, I think that might have been Dibdall had some contact there as well. But again, bottom line is, really solid run here. On board with Elliot Cox. Let's talk about him as well, Joshua. What a great drive. Had to let go of the lead with that big outside pass from Mackenzie Clark. But man, Cox has had such a great run. He's holding back Noah Ping right now. Cox running P2.
And he was the driver who, of course, started on the pole off of that reverse grid. He was able to grab P10 to get that reverse grid pole position here. And he had a great start, but Matt Clark just too much speed at the front of the field. And now Elliot Cox is going to have to deal with Noah Ping, who is starting to chase him down in that number 55. We could see another battle for second place starting to brew.
Yeah, you know what things you want out of one of your drivers, when you start on the pole position like that on a reverse grid, you've been given an opportunity. And you always want to see a driver capitalize on whatever opportunity is presented to them. You think about a Scott Dixon in the IndyCar program, right? The Iron Man. This guy, or the Iceman rather, this guy has won championships because he's taken whatever piece he's been given and got the most out of it. He's maximizing it, 100% of whatever it is. It's not always a race-winning car. If it's third, if it's fifth, Scott Dixon's the kind of guy that does that. And for Elliot Cox starting on the pole position, try to maximize what you get out of this opportunity. If it's not a win, make sure you're on the podium for sure. I like the advance here by Noah Ping. He's starting to use this draft to close up. We're only 3 minutes to go, and we can see ourselves in a pretty solid battle here for second position.
And here comes Ping trying to go for that spot, but he's not able to do it. And Elliot Cox there trying to hold him off. This is going to be a tough battle as we see Alessandro Tullio move up a spot. He's starting to not knock on the door of the top 5 with Jason Pribble. He is going to get into the top 5 off of that. And now here they come down the front straightaway. You can see the defense from the 67 as he tries to hold him off across the line.
And here's what we look for from a young driver here. And this is why our USF Juniors program is going to be such a great training program. We want a guy like Noah Ping to get this pass done and done correctly. You don't want any contact here. You've had a great race so far. You've put in almost 18 minutes of work, and you're running P3. Don't throw away a P3 with a low percentage move. And this is all the coaches will work with the drivers. And again, the drivers will have, Gabby Chavez will be one of our coaches for USF Juniors. It's all about being smart right now. Get that pass done, but make sure it's not low percentage. A track like VIR, Joshua, as you know, there's ample opportunities to make a big, long run and make that pass. You don't need to do it in a low percentage spot. Make the pass, go to work on your guy in front, figure out where you're faster, and then make your move.
And you can see them working through these sweeping sections of VIR as they work through 7, 8, 9. They're going to start to work through turn number 10. And you can see the defense from Elliot Clark. What a run we are seeing from him. Great defense against Noah Ping behind. This is the battle for second place. And take a look at the draft from the 55. He didn't get the best run coming out of that final corner that he wanted. And now running down the back straightaway, Ping's not going to have an opportunity to make a move. He's starting to gain time. Is it going to be enough? Here's the move to the inside for Noah Ping, going for second place, and he's going to be able to take it by about a 10.5.
And you know what? Great pass there for Noah Ping, but also a great understanding of the situation for Elliot Cox. Running P3 right now, finished 10th in the opening round. He wants to make sure he gets a chance to run next week at IRP with all the other drivers, so no need to force it. He made a move to the inside. Ping was strong there. White flag flying right now. Matt Clark has already seen the white here at start finish. Noah Ping for VRD this year, Velocity Racing Development. He's moved his way into second. Here's Dean Dibdall right now for 8th. He and Jason Pribble getting ready to battle it out for 7th and 8th. Let's see what Dibdall has coming down the back straight. We'll make sure to jump over to Matt Clark momentarily as he's already been given the flag. Here's the fight here as well. There's number 74 up front is Lucas Mann. Here's Pribble and the 21 of Dean Dibdall. This is the scrap right now, potentially for P7. But the driver who's got this thing handled right now is Matt Clark. He is nicely out in front. Here he is, coming up the back straightaway. Joshua, this is what you want. Open racetrack, and Matt Clark working his way up the back straightaway. No one to worry about, no one in his mirrors whatsoever. Clark, of course, unfortunately getting dumped around there in the early stages of race number 1, but fought back to a 7th position. Started on the outside of row number 2, and it was a gorgeous outside pass in turn number 1 of Elliott Cox to put Matt Clark into the lead. And again, if you're watching on Ram TV, this is Canada's future superstar in the NTT IndyCar Series, looking tremendous here in race number 2 of the 2022 TireRack.com Road to Indy eSeries. He'll work his way out here, and indeed, what a race it's been. Matt Clark will see the checkered flag, and he will win. Race number 2, Clark the winner of the number 26 machine, the Canadian of Toronto taking the victory. And what a last couple of laps for Noah Ping, able to close up on Elliott Cox. He's going to take the position, and look at the Tullio. First in the opening race, 4th right now on the racetrack. Here comes Ping onto the front straightaway. He's pretty pumped with that. Noah Ping is going to take 2nd spot in the race here today, race number 2. And Elliott Cox, a strong run, started on the pole, really drove with his head, and he'll get paid off with a 3rd place finish. Alessandro Di Tullio ends up in 4th. Connor Gutting in that 5th spot. 6th goes to Lucas Mann, 7th to Jason Pribble, 8th is Dean Dibdahl, 9th Tyke Durst, and Chase Gardner rounding out the top 10, I believe, working his way forward. Tremendous racing, folks. Stay with us. When we get back, we'll talk to our winner, Matt Clark.
Hey, your Uncle Cooper here. Once upon a time, there was a girl named Goldie, my niece, your cousin, and Goldie didn't know which tires were right for her. The first ones were too much tire, and then the next ones were not enough tire. Anyway, long story short, Goldie found the Coopers, and they were just right. What a happy, practical ending. Go to sleep. I love you. Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
Rickmotech high-performance sim racing equipment. Hundreds of name brand parts. Expert support. Rickmotech has you covered. There's only one place to go, rickmotech.com.
Your great-grandma used to tell Uncle Cooper the best stories, like Goldilocks and the Cooper tires. The Coopers are just right. Goldie's no sucker. What a lady. Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
Welcome back to the Cooper Tire Broadcast Center here at the virtual VIRs. We have capped off our second end of the doubleheader to kick off the 2022 TireRack.com Road to Indy eSeries presented by Cooper Tires. And Joshua, what a fantastic look there at our feature results. Matt Clark starting from 4th position. He goes out to win by 27 seconds. What a massive victory for him. Amazing drive for Matt Clark. Noah Ping with that last lap pass, or second last lap pass on Elliott Cox. Solid run for the Velocity Racing Development driver. But as I had said, Elliott Cox, really smart race, used his head, a couple of overtakes. But he comes home with a podium, man, and that's something he's going to be able to use to qualify to race next week at IRP.
And right off the podium, but we gotta give our accolades to Alessandro Di Tullio, winner of race number 1, and drove from P10, even with a couple of mistakes and a drive-through penalty, I believe, earlier on in this race, to go back up into P4 and finish in the top 5. What a night for the American in the 20.
Yeah, Connor Gunning rounding out the top 5. Lucas Mann ends up in 6th. Jason Pribble and Dean Dibdahl were side-by-side coming there in 7th and 8th. Yiru Lee having a good run to 9th, and Tyke Durst rounding out the top 10. I believe we have Matt Clark standing by. Let's bring him up into the broadcast room and get a chance to talk with him. Matt Clark, congratulations on a big win. Obviously some issues in the opening round. You got looped around but fought back to 7th. Nice to start P4. First, tell me a little bit about that outside move into turn number 1 to take the lead.
Thanks, Rob. I appreciate it. No, that was a nice pass I made, and you know, once I got that done on Elliott and got clear, just kind of put my head down and do some good laps to pull away.
Overall, pretty happy with the weekend. I know the night, rather. I know you've seen pretty good on the racetrack. This is a track I think you've obviously raced before. You look pretty strong out there.
Yeah, for sure. Have gone to VIR before, like in my actual racing career, I think definitely helps out a lot on the sim. So, you know, the pace was strong tonight, and we're looking forward to carrying the momentum into the next round.
So obviously the next round for the Road to Indy prospects not until February the 2nd. At Barber Motorsports Park. Dude, you get a chance to run next week on the Oval at IRP. How excited are you to run against the Road to Indy drivers?
I'm pumped. I mean, that's just the next level of competition, right? And especially on a track like IRP, super excited for that intense racing.
Hey, congrats on a great day. Well done, and we'll see you next week.
Awesome. Thank you, Rob.
Matt Clark, guys, and again, an impressive young driver out of Canada. He's going to be tough to watch next week at IRP. Let's get our next driver. How about we get Noah Ping in here? And Joshua, why don't you have a quick chat with Noah?
Well, a great run for Noah Ping to get that second place finish. Noah, you started further back in the field, P7. How was that race from your perspective?
Good. Well, actually, I started from the very back because I got a penalty from the race before, but it was a true fun experience. It's cool to see all these guys out here and get to race virtually on the months that we aren't racing in the true cars.
And going through into the remainder of this calendar, a lot of unique tracks. We go to an oval next week. What are your thoughts going into that? And do you think you can keep up these great finishes? Because you started in P7, which means that you were able to grab a P4 finish in race number 1 as well. 4th and 2nd place. Can you make it a win?
Hopefully, that's the goal, but haven't driven any of these on the ovals yet, so going to do some practice here the next couple days to hopefully get that first win on an oval.
Congratulations on your 2nd place finish, Noah. We'll see you in 1 week's time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Great to hear from Noah Ping there, Rob. A fantastic race for the 55.
Yeah, we have a couple more drivers, obviously, that we'll bring in a little bit. We're going to be heading off here pretty soon. We're going to have our post race show afterwards. But Joshua, the bottom line is, for me, I like the fact that we may have had a little bit of carnage in the first race, but it seemed like things calmed down quite a bit for race number 2.
Yeah, we saw it calm down, but we still saw some amazing moves, some aggressive moves from a couple of drivers as well. And we saw a lot of drivers fix those mistakes, most notably Mackenzie Clark, who was able to grab that win.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Great stuff for sure for all our drivers here. Super happy to see what they were able to do here today. For those of you watching on Rev TV, we hope you enjoyed the action. Not surprisingly, VIR provided everything we expected in such an iconic venue. Kudos again to tonight's winners, Alessandro Di Tullio, impressive in that opening round. And of course, Matt Clark coming back with a big win here in race number 2. Both those drivers qualifying to run next week against the RTI drivers at Indianapolis Raceway Park. If you want to join us for the remainder of our post-race show, head over to the Road to Indy TV's YouTube channel. We're lining up more driver interviews. As we said, I believe we have Elliot Cox and Alessandro Di Tullio waiting for us. We'll have them in there as well. So we'll take the opportunity to talk about next week's venue as well. Join us back here on Rev TV next Wednesday night for round number 2 of the TireRack.com Road to Indy eSeries presented by Cooper Tires, as the 2022 Road to Indy drivers will tackle the famed Indianapolis Raceway Park Oval, the home of the Carb Night Classic. On behalf of everyone here from the Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires, Apex Racing TV, and my broadcast partners Joshua Lee and Greg DeGeorgis, this is Rob Howden signing off from VIR. Bye for now.
I recently took a road trip to Greensville to attend a chili cook-off. Rough roads all the way down. I drove there on these Cooper Discoverer and Duramax tires. Without them, we might never know the winning bean-to-meat ratio of a good chili. So go with the Coopers. Cooper!
So, we buy shoes online, and socks, and shoe socks, and baby food, dog food, parrot food, gardening tools, art supplies, college classes, scarf, the scarf tube, sleeping bag suit? Yeah. So why not buy tires online? TireRack.com is North America's largest online retailer of tires. Find, buy, then have them shipped to one of our trusted independent installers for safe, easy installation. TireRack.com, the way tire buying should be. Online, with all that other stuff.
Your great-grandma used to tell Uncle Cooper the best stories, like Goldilocks and the Cooper tires.
The Coopers are just right. Goldie's no sucker.
What a lady. Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
Welcome back to the Cooper Tire Broadcast Center here at VIR. Rob Howden alongside Joshua Lee and Greg DeGeorgis as we get set to go here for our Cooper Tire post-race show. Hopefully you've joined us here on the Road to Indy TV YouTube channel or on the Cooper Tire Facebook page. A lot of different places to follow the entire TireRack.com Road to Indy iRacing eSeries. We've got a couple extra drivers still to come here right now. Let's bring in Elliot Cox to the booth, and we'll let Elliot have a chance to chat with our Joshua Lee about what was a fantastic run to third place today.
Absolutely great run for you, Elliot. And you started on the pole after the inverse of race number 1. First, talk about those struggles you had in race number 1, because you were on inverse grid pole position. But that did mean you had a 10th place finish mid-pack in that first race.
Yeah, mid race, race 1, I spun by myself, just made a dumb mistake coming off of the last corner. And then I was racing, and I got into some contact and somehow brought it home to 5th, which, to my delight, had me starting first for the next race.
And going through that second race, you had the lead for a while. Then here comes Matt Clark. Then here comes Noah Ping as well. What else did you need from the car tonight to be able to walk away with the win? Or do you think it was just more experience for Ping and Clark that got them the top spots?
I'm not sure I needed anything more from the car, or it was experience. I think it was just more, I'm not very good at this track in VR or iRacing, but I'm still really happy with what happened. Congratulations to Mac. He was an absolute bullet, and Noah as well, for a good fight.
It is a very tough track, and we'll see you in the next race on an oval when we continue the Road to Indy eSeries. Congratulations on your 3rd place finish.
Thank you.
Hey, Joshua, it's kind of refreshing to have the honesty of a driver just saying they're not real good at this racetrack, right?
Oh, yeah. Great to hear, especially with a lot of these young drivers. You know, they're going to learn these lessons, and it's better to learn them in the virtual world before you actually get in a real-life race car.
Yeah, Elliot's a heck of a young driver and a fantastic spokesman as well. Has his own Drive for Dyslexia program. Just a great young man, and we're thrilled to be able to see him this year in the USF Juniors program. Here's a driver I want to talk to because this is really interesting. This is really like the 3rd race that I've called for him in the last 5 days. Let's bring Alessandro Di Tullio up in the Cooper Tire Broadcast Center as well. Alessandro Di Tullio, you're here with Rob Howden, and what a tremendous day for you. Great evening. Obviously, I talked a lot about the big wins that you had this past weekend at the SuperKarts USA Winter Series down in Homestead, but obviously you're a pretty solid driver here when it comes to iRacing. Congratulations on a win in race number 1 and that fight back to P4.
Hey, Rob. Yeah, thank you. It was a tough race in race 2. Race 1 was kind of just open gates after McClark and I forgot to say the other guy's name.
Sherlock.
Yeah, Titus, they crashed, so I just had a huge gap. And then, yeah, race 2 had an incident on lap 1, so that gave me damage and I had to pit. And then, yeah, and then I had a good pace. I set the fastest lap in P4, so that's not bad.
Pretty impressive, and all in all, just a pretty solid week for you. Like you said, you were able to score the victory at the SCUSA event. You come back here and battle it out as well. So 1st to the 4th means that you're going to be moving on to race next week as well on the Road to Indy program at the Oval at Indianapolis Raceway Park. Obviously, you know, I know what you do in the outside world running in your karts, but obviously Joshua Lee, my full announcer, knows what you've done in the virtual world running in the F3 program as well. You tell us about it. You do a lot of iRacing?
Yeah, on my off time, whenever I have time in between real life races, I usually do a lot of sim racing, both for fun and also competitive stuff. So yeah, I have good experience with the sim.
Well, I'm sure a lot of the Road to Indy team owners who are watching tonight want to know who this Alessandro Di Tullio kid is. I'll tell you that for sure. What about the Oval?
I hope so, yeah.
Have you ever been on done the Oval at what used to be Lucas Oil Raceway, what is now Indianapolis Raceway Park once again?
I don't do much ovals, but yeah, I've done a couple, so I know how to get around them. I just don't have. I'm not like specific for ovals.
Well, I'm sure you'll spend a little bit of time on it before we go racing next Wednesday. But again, just congratulations. All in all, a fantastic run for you. Were you feeling any pressure coming in? Let's talk about that. You're racing against all these RTI prospects. I'd love to see you as an RTI prospect as well. Were you feeling any nerves coming in, or were you just going to kind of settle around and get a feel for the guys that you were racing with?
Honestly, I didn't have much pressure because I drive this car quite a lot, or I used to drive it a lot, so I knew the pace would be okay. But yeah, it's people that I've never raced with. So it was a bit, yeah, I had to get used to it and I had to see how everyone drives.
Well, listen, congratulations. You did the karting community proud tonight. Of course, coming off that SCUSA win, you get a victory here in a 4th. We look forward to seeing you on the Oval next week.
Thank you. See you guys. Good night.
Joshua Lee, you were bang on. You said this guy was going to be good out of the gate. You were excited to see what Alessandro could do, you know, following him and what he's done here online in the F3 program. He's driven the Tatis Indy Pro 2000 PMA team before, and it obviously showed.
Definitely. And you could see the real life experience in the car and the virtual experience just kind of meeting in the middle there, and a really, really good performance. Not only did he win race number 1, but up 6 spots where he started inverse grid P10 off of that race number 1 win. A fantastic night for Alessandro Tullio. And if any Road to Indy teams are out there watching, you got to take notice of that number 20 tonight.
Right? Somebody get this guy in a car to do a test for sure. Let's bring in Greg DeGeorgis from Symmetric. Greg, obviously, you've had a chance to do a lot of work with the drivers, trackside, with the sim that you have at each and every one of our races. Really kind of getting into the coaching side of it. Overall, what did you see from the transition from race number 1 to race number 2? It seemed like a couple of the drivers that maybe might have overcooked it just drove a little more cleanly, and I think a little more with their heads as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're going to see a lot of wrecks and incidences, and perhaps cars cartwheeling at some point here and there in these races. But no, both of these races were pretty clean. The second one even a little bit better. So that's a really good progression, especially with nerves calming down and everything like that. So I'm looking forward to see where how clean the upcoming races are.
Let's look back at what we had last year at Lucas Oil Raceway. We can talk about that again, newly renamed, but back to the old standard name of the Indianapolis Raceway Park. What's the setup like for that particular track? Because I think we'll talk more about that after. But what's the setup? Is it a pretty stable car?
Yeah, we're going to start with the setup that we used last year and make some adjustments for the physics model that iRacing has, the changes they've made to the physics model of the actual car itself. But yeah, if we have anything like what we had last year, it's going to be really conservative, really drivable, and it'll make for some really good racing without any unforced errors.
Let's come back and talk about that momentarily. One more driver sitting waiting in it to come and join us in the Cooper Tire Broadcast Center. Let's bring in Luke Mann, the driver from Oakville, Ontario, Canada. Luke, you're joining us here in the broadcast center. This is Rob Howden. Congratulations, man, on a fantastic night. Really strong all along. Really solid run in the opening race, and then P6 in race number 2. Overall, how would you summarize how your night went today at VIR?
Yes, sir. Thank you. I think it was a really good night overall. It was a ton of fun. Really happy that I was able to make the race. Race 1 was awesome. The whole strategy, I think, was just to try to keep it clean. Obviously, there was some drama ahead of me, which played into my hands. And so, yeah, after that, it was just sort of about running a clean race. Race 2 was a little bit more eventful on my end. But I think it was a really good recovery drive overall. The reverse grid definitely spices stuff up for sure. But yeah, overall, it was a ton of fun. This was actually my first race in the Indy Pro car, so it was a lot of fun getting to grips with that. And yeah, we'll be even faster next time.
Nice, I like it. Much cleaner, obviously, in the opening race. In the second race, it looked like you were in the middle of a pretty good battle there, but I think Tullio was trying to make a move to the inside. You guys got caught up a little bit. A little unfortunate, but the bottom line is you still were able to show good speed in that number 74.
Yeah, thank you. No, it was great battles all around. It was a lot of fun. It's always tough to go too wide through that corner. I think that's one of the hardest corners on the track for sure. So, I thought I gave him enough room there. I have to look at the replay on that one for sure, but yeah, it was definitely a little tight overall, though. I think it was really good racing. And yeah, like I said, just a ton of fun.
Couple of good finishes mean that you're racing next week on Wednesday night at IRP. What are your thoughts on getting this Indy Pro 2000 car on the oval at Lucas Oil Raceway?
That's going to be a lot of fun. I think I've actually I've never tried an oval in Formula cars, so I definitely got to do some testing. But yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to it. Like I said, tonight was awesome. The racing all around was very good. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, you showed fantastic racecraft, Luke, and I think that's what we were all looking for here. You're able to get a couple of good finishes, and even though you had that issue in race number 2, you fought back to P6. Congratulations, well done. I guess we'll see you next Wednesday night.
Yeah, thank you, sir. See you next week.
That is Luke Mann, folks. Again, as I said before, I tested for Exclusive Autosport earlier this year, potentially coming into the USF 2000 program next year. Look forward to seeing that. Joshua, let's talk about next week's race, next Wednesday. We get rolling with the Road to Indy Pro drivers. They'll get a chance to do some racing finally. I'm sure they're sitting on the sidelines ready to dive in. They've been doing a lot of regular testing in their outdoor series as the season kicks off at St. Petersburg at the end of February. But we go to the 5/8 mile banked oval at Indianapolis Raceway Park. This is a tough racetrack for sure. I don't know if you've driven on it yourself, but this is a tough track. You got to run the high part of this racetrack.
whether it's open wheel cars, whether it is stock cars of the NASCAR Truck Xfinity or Cup cars, whether it's full power Indy cars or more cars on the road to Indy ladder, this track is very, very tough. And like you mentioned, you have to run that outside line. Really, only 1 to 2 lines can be used, so a lot of creative passing is going to come into play.
Yeah, you know what, and that's what we see normally when we get there for the Carb Night Classic. And of course, USF 2000 runs the Freedom 75, Indy Pro 2000 running the Freedom 90. The fast way around that racetrack is the top line. That's what you see drivers doing in qualifying. And really, for the majority of the night, you're going to run that top line right up against the wall. But the thing is, the car has to still work on the bottom side of the racetrack, because that's the only way to pass is to make that move in the bottom. That's what's tough. The drivers have to get a feel for both lanes of the racetrack, because if you get stuck up top and that's all you can do, you're just not going to be able to move forward. So really, you got to be able to use all the racetrack.
And it's going to be another test for these drivers, because it's the first time that we are going to see them on an oval for the season. We're going from road to oval. It's what IndyCar and Road to Indy is known for. We're going to see it in the sim in just a couple of weeks' time.
Greg DeGeorge, give me your input on Indianapolis Raceway Park. You do a lot of training with the drivers here. What do you expect to see out of the drivers when we head there, with a combination of Road to Indy Pro drivers and the Road to Indy prospects as well?
Yeah, with the prospects, I think they're going to have their nerves are going to be dialed up even a little bit more than they had tonight. Like you're talking about, there's really only one fast line with kind of a second line optional for drivers to make a pass. So if I were practicing this week, as important as qualifying is, I think it would also be really important to spend a lot of time on the inside line to see what it's like and to alternate back and forth and to ultimately know what it's like to put a full race distance together.
Well, and let's see, Greg, maybe we can do what we did last year. When we were there last year for the Carb Night Classic, both our USF 2000 and Indy Pro 2000 categories went green to checker. I don't know that we'll see that in the virtual world, because there's not really as much, of course, issues if you get together. But man, we had 2 really good races at IRP last year.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be fantastic.
Joshua, the first time you were able to join us here as part of the TireRack.com Road to Indy eSeries. A lot of great talented drivers. I know you've announced a bunch of different stuff, whether it's the ovals, NASCAR, whatever it is, sports cars as well. What are your thoughts on seeing these young kids, anywhere from 13 to about 20 years of age?
Well, I think it's going to be interesting to see how they deal with the full campaign, right? We have one event, 2 races under our belts, and then now we're going to see 4 or 5 more down the rest of this campaign. I'm excited to see how the points are going to work out. Will these drivers really grow into their own, or will we see the same couple of names towards the front? Right now, Tutulio, Cox, Ping, and Clark are showing they're the ones to beat. Can anybody else get up there to the front?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good summary there for sure. It's going to be a great season here. 2 races for the prospects, 2 races for our pros, and then, of course, March the 2nd as well at Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway. We'll have our invitational. We'll see how many of our former Indy Lights drivers and the like will come out and play with us. We had a really good lineup of drivers last year. We'll try to do more of it this year when we get ready to go with that Road to Indy Invitational at Gateway. But again, forward to next weekend, looking forward to getting on the oval. A much different challenge than what we saw here today at VIR on the oval. A lot of laps. It's going to be a lot of fun. Tight quarters racing for sure. But we are done here, folks, from VIR. Thank you so much for tuning in. On behalf of Joshua Lee and Greg DeGeorge, I'm Rob Howden. Bye for now.
An important decision is afoot. This man is about to buy tires on TireRack.com. Tire Rack is the leading online retailer of tires in North America and a repository of advice and expert reviews. And it's done! All that's left is to arrange for safe, easy installation at one of our independent recommended installers. Well, I guess he did that too. TireRack.com, the way tire buying should be.